We welcome our viewing audience. It was important to us to record these public job interviews tonight with Justice of the Peace candidates because when people run for office, they are asking to be hired to do a job, and you get to hire them at the ballot box. So it is an entirely reasonable expectation that the people have an opportunity to see whether or not these candidates understand the job, and you need to have insights into the character and integrity of the candidates to see if they have a commitment to do the job. Okay? So we like to make sure that we have really good content and we know the questions to ask. We've been doing this a long time. We know what the job of a Justice of the Peace happens to be, and we know some of the ways historically in Smith County those jobs have either been fulfilled or not fulfilled, right? And so they will be tough questions. They will not be gotcha questions. The questions are not based on personalities. They're based on actual actions of the incumbents in office and then what the challengers might do differently, okay? So anyway, we thank you very much for viewing the videos. We believe that'll give you some good indication as to some of the criteria you might want to look at before you decide who you'll cast your vote for. Because remember, you're hiring these people at the ballot box to do a job. You're the boss, they aren't. Thank you. Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, we have the incumbent, Mr. Curtis Wolf, and we have his challenger, the Honorable Sam Griffith. I call him the Honorable because he is retired from the 12th Court of Appeals. And they drew for order of opening statements. So, J.P. Wolf, would you please begin?
As she said, my name is Curtis Wolf. I'm the Justice of the Peace in Precinct 4. Thank you all for staying out here tonight. I know it's a cold night, but I took office about 3 years ago. When I took office, I felt like there was a lot of changes to be needed. And I'm proud of the progress that we have made and continue to make daily. One of the biggest changes was to restore the trust from law enforcement. I can tell you, not only have we done that, but we have also become a go-to court for law enforcement. They depend on us daily. I know this to be true simply by looking at the numbers. In 2022, there was 1,285 traffic citations turned in, and in 2025, we had 7,159. We went from collecting $236,000 a year to over $785,000 in traffic fines alone. I run this office in an efficient, conservative, and professional manner. I've done exactly what I told you I would do 4 years ago and what I told the citizens I would do. We're here for the public.
Thank you. Okay, so, sorry, my mistake. This means you have 30 seconds. This means stop. You may finish a sentence. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. So, Mr. Griffith.
Thank you. I'm Sam Griffith. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4. I bring a unique set of skills and experiences. I've been a judge in Smith County since 1997, 29 years as a judge. I've been a trial court judge. I've been an appellate judge. Since I quote retired, I've been a visiting judge all over East Texas. Last week I was sitting in the Emory Court doing the criminal docket in Emory. I've been in Sulphur Springs, everywhere doing that. And so I've been a judge, and I bring a unique set of skills and abilities and experiences, and I can do the job because I've been doing it for almost 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Faber? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I've been doing this and I just forgot it was my turn. Okay. So with these are 3 short personal questions, and so it only takes about 30 seconds. So we'll start with you, Mr. Griffith. Have you ever declared bankruptcy?
No.
Are you current on all your taxes?
Yes.
Is there
Even
any?
next year's taxes already paid them.
Okay. Is there any event in your life that would embarrass anyone who admires you and looks up to you that would ever show up on a billboard in a political race?
No.
Okay. So,
So
same
no on
questions.
bankruptcy, no, yes on current on taxes, and other than my dancing skills, no, nothing would be embarrassing.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. I want somebody in the back of the room to make sure that the crowd is quiet because we want to make sure that these two candidates are shown respect. So let's make sure we can't hear all those conversations. Thank you. Mr. Fabry.
Okay. First question goes to Mr. Wolf. Do you consider the JP position to be a full-time job? Yes or no? And the reason we're asking, it's been reported that some JPs are not in the office on a regular basis to sign warrants, et cetera. So if you answer yes or no, and then how many hours a week do you currently spend on the job?
So it's absolutely a full-time job. And it depends on the week. It depends if it's an on-call week. You could easily spend 60 hours on an on-call week. Just because the JP's not in the office, right, we still have jail duty that we have to do. We have to sign warrants that we have to do. We have to go out on inquests, which is a couple hundred inquests a year, almost a couple hundred inquests a year. So it's unlike any other judge position, right, where you expect to see them on the bench all the time. Because we have so many other things that we have to do. We have jail duty, which I call magistration duty, and then we have all the inquests that we have to do. So I take inquests very seriously as far as going out to each one of those inquests. And then as far as the jail duty is concerned, it takes time to sit there and read all that paperwork and magistrate each person. Yes, sir.
Mr. Griffith, same question?
Yes, sir. Of course, it's a full-time job. JPs are paid, all told, about $100,000 a year. That's a full-time job. If you're working at Walmart, they'd expect you to be there all the time. I will be there all the time. I fully will use my full energy and abilities to do that. On the autopsies and the autopsies and the magistrate, I understand that's on a rotating basis, so that's only 1 week out of 5 that they have to do that. So the rest of the time they just hold court. And from what I've heard, there's a lot of problems of the judge not being available. You need to be there. You can't be a judge elsewhere. That's kind of where you're supposed to be, and you can sign the warrants, you can do everything from there, and that's what the court's for, and that's where you need to be to oversee the court and make sure that everything is run appropriately. So yes, it's a full-time job, and I plan on being there full-time.
Can I rebut that? Or
No, that's at the end. So question number 3, and we start with Mr. Griffith. The rotating on-call JP is responsible to arraign inmates, set bonds at the jail, as well as conducting inquests for decedents. If you were on call, would you still go to the office and hold court to serve the citizens, or would you stay at home during your on-call week? 1 minute.
8 to 5, I'll be at the court. That's what it's there for. When I was juvenile judge, I saw a need for transforming the kids' minds, and I would show up at the schools at 7 in the morning. We had a program called Now You're 10, which in 8 months we delivered to 5/8 of the entire student body. And then when we got through at the schools, I'd go to court and hold court all day. And then if they wanted search warrants, they'd come in, get search warrants in the court. And at night they would come to my home. So yeah, it's a full-time job, and that's why I've got the energy and the dedication to do it. Thank you much.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf.
So on rare occasions, I will hold court on my on-call week, but I try not to, because the issue that we run into is once we have court, well, we're getting called out. We're having to go to the on-call thing. So we can't have court because we start court and then I get a call for an inquest down in another precinct, or I got to go take care of that, inquest when I just now started court. So it's real hard to schedule court those weeks. So I try to do nothing but magistration and do the inquest that week. Now, even though it's just an on-call week, we still take our inquest when we're available, when we're not on call, or we try to. Now, if we're not available, then the on-call JP will take that call.
This question goes to, stays with Mr. JP's received a major pay increase this past year, but there was no public discussion in court, just a footnote in the final budget presentation. What role did you play in this apparent backdoor agreement?
Absolutely none. Actually, when I found out that it's been done, I contacted a commissioner, and I think I know which one it is, but I contacted a commissioner, but this was already, after it was already been done, and I said, hey, I don't have to take that raise. If we need to wait until next year, I'm happy to do that. And I think the response was that it was already been done. There wasn't a whole lot we could do on it. But as far as asking for a raise, I've never asked for a raise.
Thank you. Mr. Griffith, you obviously weren't on the court at that, or on elected office at that time. So are you familiar with the situation at all?
I know they got a big pay raise. I know they got a big pay raise. I understand that. It wasn't very widely broadcast, but they got a big pay raise.
So,
when I was at the Court of Appeals, Leo Berman came to me and said, Sam, the state's going to give you a big pay raise. What do you think about that? And I said, I have all the money I need. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. But I don't need the money. And he said, he finally hugged me and said, well, you can always give it away, Sam, whatever. But no, I think they're paid quite adequately. Thanks so much.
Follow up on that.
Yes, sir.
The question was then, what is your opinion of that process, or the backdoor process, and how should it be handled moving forward?
Well, I think they ought to have all these things, especially massive pay raises, should be public and discussed. We ought to have it out there so people can find out what's going on. Most people don't know how much they're getting paid, and that's staggering for that sum of money that it came through, and no one seems to know where the money came from or the votes. But that's a lot of money, and it should be public. And all these discussions and the budget should be public.
Thank you.
And just for the record, I believe the pay raise was it was over $8,000. It was over $8,000, which our point is that is far more than any employee, and it's certainly more than the private sector. Most private sector folks never get an $8,000 pay raise. Okay. So at the minimum, and I think both you gentlemen agreed, it should have been transparent and it should have been handled completely differently. Okay, on to the next question. The following questions will pertain to how you would administer the Justice of the Peace office. So we will start with you, Mr. Griffith.
Yes, sir.
The JP offices are closed during lunch hours. Do you think this is an appropriate public service level for the office? And if you don't agree with that practice, tell us how you would do better in accommodating the public and your ideas on how structuring the office and the staff and the lunches. How would you do it? 1 minute.
Certainly, I understand there's 3 full-time and 2 part-time people. Walmart doesn't close for lunch. You need to be open from 8 to 5 when the people are there. Now, they say that maybe these people aren't cross-trained or whatever, and so they use up all their time, and they get off on Friday afternoons at 1 and whatever. My point is, you just stagger it. It's not like you need to be a rocket science to give someone a receipt for paying a traffic ticket. We need to be open all the time. I would stagger the people so they can be full-time from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wolf.
So our office is actually open at lunch, and we've been open at lunch for a while now. Prior to me getting there, the office was open for about 35 hours a week, and we're open for 41 hours a week. So we do let one employee off for an hour, so they don't get there over 40 hours. They get off for an hour, but we're open for 41 hours. We're open every day, Monday through Friday at lunch. We do close it early on Friday at 1, but I say close early on Friday at 1. We close at 1 on Friday, but those hours are used during our lunchtime hours, and 11 to 2 is the busiest time that we have. And I want all my people there because we still got the phones ringing. We still got people coming in. And they're not just coming in to pay a traffic ticket. They're coming in maybe to get an abstract judgment. They're maybe coming in to, we have a lot of landlords that still have full-time jobs. They're coming in to file evictions during their lunch. And honestly, prior to campaign season, I've got a lot of praise for staying open at lunch.
Thank you. Thank you. Tom?
Okay. Okay, staying, sir. Across the 5 JPs, all the JPs are approving 40-hour timesheets for non-exempt employees. You mentioned your hours, 8 to 5 on Monday through Thursday, and 8 to 1 on Friday. So, as an officer of the court, how do you justify this apparent, not necessarily in your area, but this apparent falsification of time records?
Well, I don't know what you mean. I mean, if they're putting their time, right, 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday, 9 hours a day.
In other offices.
I'm sorry. I didn't understand the question.
I'll read it again. As an officer of the court, how would you justify in the other offices apparently just falsification of time records? And what would you do to remedy this situation across all courts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure what all the other courts are doing. I can just speak with my own. I mean, we're not giving them free hours away. I mean, they're working their 40 hours. They're so yeah. I mean, we don't give free hours away. Is that
okay? Thank you. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Griffin.
Yes, like I said about Walmart, they're open all the time. You just stagger the shifts, and people do the 40 hours, and you're open at 8, and you people are there at 5. And so when they come in, whatever they have, they can address the issue. It's a matter of the judge needs to be there to oversee it, and it needs to be, if you're not there, then they might change and they might not do as well as you should. The judge is a person that runs the place, and he should set the schedule so it's full staff all the time so you can handle the business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will start with Mr. Griffith, and this is also a 1-minute question. Are you aware of the 287G task force provisions?
Is that the one for the immigration?
Yes,
Yes.
ICE, yes. Routine traffic stops.
Yes, I know about that.
Incorporating the 287G.
Yeah.
May result in a constable or a sheriff's deputy identifying an illegal alien that has violated the law. If these cases land in your court, how will you handle them?
Well, you just address them following the law and the statutes. I mean, if they're illegal and you have a statute, you just set the bond and put them in jail, and you address the case. To a large extent, that really goes into a federal matter. But yes, the JP is the one that makes the first initial response, and I'll be there to handle it. And that's, I bring no agenda to it, but I do know what the law is and what a concept we should follow the law, the federal law. There's a thing called supremacy clause. It might trump a few things, but my job would be simply to set the bond and address the case quickly and efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, I agree 100% with him. Our job is to set the bond, and typically when we set the bond, ICE already has a hold on them at that time. But I mean, we just set the bond. I mean, and when we read them the rights, obviously we read them a portion that if they're not here legally, then it says if you're not here in the United States legally, a plea of guilty may result in your ability to stay in the United States. So, but at that point, they've already got the ICE hold on them, so it really doesn't matter. From our point.
What it says, a person who is being held, any plea will result in deportation, exclusion, admission to this country, or denial of citizenship. So that's part of the.
Thank you so much.
Okay. The JP courts are the legal system closest to the public. So the following relates to how your administration or planned administration of those courts. So justices are required to impartially fulfill their duties and make unbiased judgments. In this case, to Mr. Wolf, how do you ensure objectivity in cases, particularly those where one party is represented by legal counsel and the other is not? 1 minute.
So in JP court, there are some rules that don't apply in JP court that may apply in county court or district court. So it allows a pro se litigant to be able to present their case a little bit better in JP court than they would be able to in, say, county court of law or district court. So we allow a little leeway for them to be able to try to present their case as far as like hearsay exceptions and, you know, the rules of evidence when you're putting it in. But, you know, the people that have come in my court, they're really wanting to get heard, and you really have to listen to the pro se litigant, even if you have to bring them back from going down a rabbit trail and bring them back to where the case needs to be, because you know sometimes you do have to set time limits on them on saying, hey, look, this is what we're dealing with, and you know you have about 30 minutes to present this case or whatever the case may be. But that's how I would.
Yes. About a year ago, I was over in Van Zandt County on this massive land case, and the defendant was pro se. And he's pretty good at it, but he was pro se, and you could tell that. It took us about 3 hours. I let him go as far as he wanted to. You know, we're talking about $1 million. He wants to be heard, and I'm just open to listen to it, and I can filter it through the 30 years of being a judge and 40 years of being a lawyer, and I know the law and the rules, and I just filter it through. That's what I've done before. I've been doing this for decades, and you just let them, under control, but you let them give their full perspective on the case. And then if it's irrelevant, you can disregard it. But that's what you're here to let the people come and hear what's going on, give their side of the case, and that's fine. And if you do it respectfully and gently, you can get what I would deem justice.
Okay, thank you. JP courts handle small claim lawsuits, evictions, traffic cases, and issue a number of different types of writs. Would you hold court weekly or on a regular schedule to clear out some of the large docket backlog that we know has got built up during COVID, and you still have that backlog there? So how would you handle that? And we will start with Mr. Griffith.
Yes, I think they ought to have a docket call about twice a week. I mean, do as often as possible. I'm there. If you have one docket call a week, all of a sudden you had 40, 50 cases lined up and people are waiting for hours. What you do is do it like a couple of times a week. I'm there. Set them short dockets so everybody can come in and go on back to work. You just run them through, and that's the way you do it. And it is actually, if you work at the job, it's not that hard. If they say 90% of all life is showing up. If you show up and do your job, you can solve the problems, and you bring your experience there, and we can resolve the docket and clean it all up. And that's what I'm pledging to do.
So, right, we have court several times a week. We've had it every day this week, actually. The eviction cases, we need to hear those between 10 and 21 days. That's the time frame that we hear. We try our best to try to hear closer to that 10-day mark. We know that it's hard to get evicted out of your house, but we also know that it's hard to make a living if that's the way you're making a living. And we don't want to wait 21 days and then the person have to go appeal, or the defendant appeals that case that's getting evicted, and it just drags it out and drags it out and drags it out. So we try our best to try to get it as close to that 10-day mark as we can. And we don't have a backlog from COVID anymore. We got that cleared up. And if we do start to get a backlog, then we will have court when we're on that on-call. I would just have another JP take on-call for a little while for me.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you. This is a question for Mr. Wolf. Some justice courts provide electronic filing to process documents and fees more efficiently in other counties. Some Smith County JPs have resisted implementing electronic signatures, necessitating hand-carrying executed documents down to the district clerk. Would you lead an initiative to implement electronic filing across the county? 1 minute.
Well, I don't know what other courts are doing, but all of our debt claims are all e-filed right now. I have an e-signature that I sign electronically. But all of our debt claims, I say our debt claims, all of our credit card debt claims that are being filed by attorneys' offices are all being e-filed at this point. It's hard to have a small claims make them e-filed because these are people that are, trying to just handwrite a petition. But as far as our debt claims, which we get a lot of them, I would guess probably at least 800 a year, those are all e-filed, which saves hours of time of scanning documents in, and it saves time or money on postage as well.
Sure, I think computers are the way to go, and I like Zoom court hearings. I've been doing that, and I've been doing the probate in Emory for the last since July, and we do a lot of Zoom cases. It solves a lot of problems for the people not having to come in. It works beautifully. And yes, everything comes in, it's e-filed. That's the way to do it. We need to just crank it up and address that we might be in the 21st century. We might want to catch up and just do what it should do. Thank you, so.
Thank you. Each precinct has its own courtroom, of course. Do you believe that some or all of the courts should consider meeting in a central facility downtown, closer to the district attorney's office, in order to handle some of these backlog cases? Do you anticipate that that is something that you could pursue with the district attorney's office to help solve the backlog so that there would be just a super court day or court evening? Mr. Griffith.
Yes, I think we should look at that. I worked great with the DA's office when I left the county court at law number 3. Jack Skeen was amazed. The district attorney's lawyers gave me a pen and ink set. They said they'd never seen it before, but they loved my working with them so beautifully. They actually gave me an award from the rank and file lawyers. Yes, I'll work with them if we need to meet downtown. In fairness, though, a lot of the cases are up in the one-on area, and that's fine. But you need to be open to go wherever it's better for the people. We are here to serve. It's not at my convenience; it's their convenience, and we'll do it wherever works better for everyone. And I have the judgment to do that.
Thank you.
So this is actually you already brought up Judge Brown in JP5's office is suffering a big backlog of trying to get his tickets, jury trials, mainly jury trials for his tickets. And we only have so many prosecutors. We know that. They take care of the county court of laws. They take care of all the 5 JP courts. Him and Susie had a meeting one day, and they actually thought of that idea about having it downtown. I was 100% on board. I talked to Jacob Putman. He was 100% on board, and there was something that we were going to go forward with. And then Thomas Wilson found something in the code that says we have to have court in the precinct, and that was only about 2.5, 3 weeks ago that he found that. He was going to do some more research. But as far as being open to it, absolutely. Whatever we can do to try to get these cases moving along. And the issue is when we set a jury trial, sometimes we won't have somebody show up. But if we have that next person ready to go and all the DAs ready to go, we're ready to try that case. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Justice courts have original jurisdiction on cases of forcible entry and detained or evictions. Obviously, you're familiar with that, with the laws. How did SB 38 changed your approach to that, and how do you continue to remain competent in this area of law, which changes apparently frequently?
So it hasn't changed a whole lot for me just because we're doing it in that time frame, the 10 to 21 days. We've been doing that. It allows a little bit more resources for law enforcement, like the constable's office or the sheriff's office, as far as getting the squatters out of there quicker. It allows the appeal deadline to be a little bit quicker though as well. So it doesn't really change a whole lot in our court right now.
Well, of course, the way you do it is you just read the law and read the statutes, and you keep up on that. There's courses that they offer on the internet that you can follow. I'm a voracious reader, and I think if you're going to be a judge, you actually need to know the rules and the procedure and all the structure that you have to go by. And that's what I do. I read it and then I follow it, and I will be very diligent in that and keeping current with all the laws as they come down, and apply it as necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about the Texas Property Code a moment. It protects a tenant's right to remain in possession of the property pending an eviction trial. How will you process these types of cases within a reasonable time and without unnecessary delay? Describe any methods that you believe should be implemented to more efficiently process these eviction cases. We'll start with you, Mr. Griffith.
Yes. When you get them filed, you should put them on the docket. You send that notice to everybody and have a very short deadline so you can keep moving the cases, because the property owners, they're still paying their mortgages on the property. They need the money, and you need to have that addressed as quickly as possible. So you simply set it on the docket quickly. You have the hearings quickly. You give notice to everybody, and you just move it on. You don't let anything lag there. Thank you.
So something that I found out pretty early on in my position as a JP was that these tenants try to string things out to stay in this house. And I probably wouldn't have gave it a second thought if Ms. Fleming wouldn't have asked this question at the first candidate forum, and I didn't know the answer to it. But it was, how do you do inability to pay? Well, I went to school, the training, and they didn't really teach a lot on it. And I asked them about it, and I learned about it. You send the notice to the plaintiff that, hey, they filed this inability to pay. You don't just approve it. You send it to them and say, if you want to contest it, we'll contest it. We'll have a hearing within the next couple of days. And I've had people come and to contest it, and I've had inability to pay has been denied, and they've been held up at the county court of law level. So that's something that I've done on my end, but we try to hear them as quick as possible as well.
Thank you.
When a written lease between a landlord and tenant provides for the landlord's recovery of unpaid rent and potentially other sums, after the case is adjudicated, how do you ensure that the prevailing party is awarded and collects the full amount of damages that the party is legally entitled to? Mr. Wolf, 1 minute.
As far as collecting it is a whole different story than a judge awarding it. Now, we will give them the resources that they need, that they can go and research how to collect on a debt or a judgment. And, there's different ways that they can collect. But that's past the eviction process, right? That's something else that they're going to have to file, and there's a couple different methods that they could do. We can't tell them what they can file, but we can direct them to the resources, which we have a website that we direct them to. We also have pamphlets in the front, self-help packets that we can easily hand out. We just can't give any information out to them, though.
Good. Sure. Mr. Griffith.
Absolutely. The litigants frequently, especially in the JP court, will be pro se, and you have to accommodate that. But that doesn't mean that you give them extra time. You just give them they have the forms there, they can fill them out, and you just address the forms. But you don't let them have extra time just because they're having trouble figuring out the paperwork. You set it for a docket call, you set it for a hearing, and you proceed on. If they are truly indigent, then that is to be crossed. I did have one in Upshur County a while back, and the guy was labeled as indigent, and he was a ship engine mechanic in the Houston Ship Channel with a Harley Davidson. I'm not sure how that worked out, but by that time it was way past mine, and I was doing the appeal. But that happens. You want to make sure that they're really indigent. And that's my job.
Thank you. Okay, one of the most important duties for a justice of the peace is setting bond in your magistration process. What criteria will you use in determining an appropriate bond? 1 minute, Mr. Griffith.
Well, you consider a number of factors. They can't be held in jail just because they're poor. You got to set a bond, a reasonable bond that they can reasonably make. But there are other considerations. The danger to the community, are they safe? If they've been doing this a lot, you might want to set a higher bond. There's a way you do it to structure. We had a kid once on appeal, and he was set with a $1 million bond, and it came to us. Was that too high? And we said they had murdered the school teacher and horrible facts. And we said, fine, let's set it for $500,000, and maybe they'll have it tried by then. And they didn't make the bond, and the people were safe, because there are considerations such as public safety, and you got to bring that in too. You got to have experience. Having done it for decades, you have the experience to know it, and you try to protect the people as well as giving them a right to be free on bond. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf.
So we're all aware that the previous judge, we have a black eye at that office, or we did. There's no question about it. And it's a sad deal, any way you put it. Number one, we look at public safety, okay? That's the reason, part of the reason that we don't set trials during our magistration week. If I have 20 or 30 people I have to magistrate, I want the time to be able to read the affidavit, read the criminal history, see if they're out on bond. Sometimes stuff like that's checking, or it takes some time. I need to see if they're out on bond right now. What was their last bond that they got out on if they were on bond? If it's a DWI third and they just got 2 DWIs in the past 5 years, they're going to have a higher bond because they're putting my children at risk, my wife at risk, and everybody else in Smith County at risk. We look at if it's a violent offender, if it's a repeat offender, if they have ties to the community. Look, I'm all about, okay, thank you.
Mr. Wolf, do you know when the last time it was that the fee schedule for the courts was updated? It's a yes or no.
This past year, yes, sir.
Okay, so the follow-up to that is, what role, based on the experience that JP judges have day to day, day in and day out, what role do you believe they should have in making recommendations to Commissioners Court on the fee schedules?
Well, I think they should have some recommendation on making the fine amount. So a lot of it is set by statute, though. It's in between this amount and this amount. But I can tell you, I feel like if we're having a 2-year-old sitting in a car without a car seat or a seatbelt, I think those fines should be a little bit higher than maybe not, stopping all the way at a stop sign. So I think input like that should be listened to.
Yes, there has been recent statutes that have changed that and focused on making sure that the judges get all the criminal history and all the background. There's about 2 years ago, and they made a big thing about that. And that's good, because then you always get this feedback. You always have this paperwork that shows their entire criminal history, up to that time, they're out on bond or whatever. And so you follow all that, and of course you are required by the law to follow that, to be aware, to read it and be aware of it. And then you take your own judgment to tweak it on the various cases. But I am a conservative law and order guy, and I think you ought to not have too many DWIs if you don't ask me. So yes, so I'm very good on that.
Thank you. Okay, this will be the last question. Describe your worldview, the values and principles that guide your decision-making in both your public life and your private life. Mr. Griffith, 1 minute.
Well, start off, I'm a Christian, conservative, Republican. My grandfather was Republican. I grew up with Republicans in the 60s and 50s. I've been conservative Republican. We also, it's a Christian. Everything should be based on the American law and system is based on the Judeo-Christian basis. So everything comes from that. All that comes in, and then you actually have the last thing. But as John Glenn said when he was leaving the NASA, what is the best use of me? How can I use my talents? And that's what I look at, how I can use the talents and experience that I have to better the community and better the world. So I go around the world preaching the gospel. I've taught constitutional law around the world and across Smith County and East Texas. I just pour my life into these opportunities to serve, and I thank the people for letting me be a public servant. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf?
So I agree, and I'm not getting off track here, but I do want to say that I love fishing. It's one of my favorite things to do. And my wife told me that I could either have a boat or our kids could continue going to Christian school. I don't have a boat, so they go to Christian school. We pay for that because that's what means the most to me, is my family, my children, the community that we live in. And right, I was raised in a Christian family. We still practice that faith today, and it means a lot to me.
Thank you. So now we're at the rebuttal period, and so let me define this. Some people want to use it as a chance to maybe respond to something that was said about them by their opponent. But if you don't feel like you need to do that, you can use it for extended comments on something that you didn't believe that you had a chance to fully answer a question, or you can even raise a new issue that we didn't ask. You have 1 minute to do this, and the draw was to start with Mr. Griffith.
Thank you so much. I have had 40 years experience as a lawyer, 20-something years, almost 30 years as a judge. I bring all that experience in. You don't have to have a law degree to be a justice of peace. In fact, there's almost no one as a justice of peace there's a lawyer, much less a retired judge. But I think that it's important at this day and age, at this time. I was asked to run for this. Numerous people, they say there's a need for somebody to show up and do the job. I asked myself, what is the best use of me? And I would submit the best use of me at this time is to bring all my knowledge and experience to this court and work full-time and be the kind of judge that the people want, going to the schools and talking about the Constitution, doing all the things you can use in that office to transform the minds and the culture, because that's what we're here for, the mantle of authority, and that's what I would do. Thank you.
So, didn't really want to rebut something. Just wanted to add something. Even if we're on call for a week, when I'm not on call, I still get calls from the jail that afternoon or that evening or even in the nighttime saying, hey, Judge, we got somebody that's about to go to the hospital. Do you think you can come set their bond so they can bond out and we're not having to pay hospital bills? So, yeah, I may not be in the office at 4 o'clock, but I guarantee you I'm probably at the jail or the hospital magistrating somebody. We do a lot of work at that office, and in my clothing, I think I could show that a little better.
Thank you. So now it is time for closing statements, and you all drew places. And Mr. Griffith, you drew first place, so you begin.
Thank you so very much. Thank you all for being here tonight in this horrible weather. We thank you for having this forum, because the voters need to know who's the best qualified person. That would be me, I would submit, who has had a history of hard work on the bench, and that would be me again. And I would bring all those skills. I'm a diligent hard worker. I won't close my office at 1 o'clock. We'll be there all the time, trying to be a public servant, which is what our job title should be. And thank you. And I appreciate y'all being here, and I would ask for your endorsement. Thank you so very much. God bless you.
Mr. Favory, this is for you because I know you love numbers. I know you love graphs and everything. I just want to show you, some people see stuff, they can visualize it better, and I'm one of those people. I just want to show you some charts. In 2022, the year before I took office, we're in the red right there. That's us, JP4. That's our amount of total cases that we got in that year. In 2025, we're still the red right there. Those are the cases that we got in. We went from handling 13% of all the total cases in Smith County to handling 34% of the cases in Smith County. We work. And when I say we're the go-to court, I mean we're the go-to court. We went from taking $230-something thousand a year in revenue to $787,000. Let's not forget about civil cases. In 2025, we had 955 of them filed. We closed out 935 civil cases in 2025. We're there at that office and we're working.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for participating tonight. We appreciate it very much.
Thank y'all.